After what felt like a lifetime of hype, one of the most exciting rising bands in the scene has finally granted us access to Suffocate City. Welcome to Aaron Does Music, where today we're looking at the second studio album from one of my favorite bands, The Funeral Portrait, called Greetings from Suffocate City. This album follows their previous effort, A Moment of Silence, which came out back in 2016. Since then, the band went on to release a few singles such as Flowers in the Attic, The Crash, and others before finally announcing this album earlier this year. The transformation and evolution the band went through between that initial studio album and this one has been dramatic in the best ways, with every member growing into their own and contributing to the band's new explosive sound as time went on in very interesting ways. This album, from front to back, takes the best parts of modern alternative and hard rock music in the scene, and the band bends them to their will. So, let's talk about how it does that. Starting with the initial singles, despite listening to tracks such as Voodoo Doll time and time again since the release of it, I can say with firm confidence that the track still holds up thanks to its feeling at the time of release, and the newly included collaboration with Eva Under Fire. One of several collabs on the album introduced into songs previously released without them, Voodoo Doll seems to tell a story about watching someone fall into destructive habits and wanting to pry them from that pit of despair. Whether metaphorical or literal, every time this person is pushing pins into their skin, harming themselves in one way or another, the narrator feels it and is driven into despair from either being unable to stop it or knowing it's happening despite their best efforts. All throughout the song, there's this really nice guitar tracking from the two guitarists, Cody and Caleb, that really helps keep the tension at a steady pace until the chorus comes in and lead vocalist Lee comes in with the vocal artillery. In this version of the song too, the additional vocal contribution from Eva Under Fire gives it a deeper edge that helps the emotion come across in a spectacular way. Moving to another song that got granted a new voice on this album's release, Dark Thoughts is a very blatant song that this time follows the personal strife of things such as OCD and anxiety, sung with thicker energy from Lee as he sings about the worries of falling victim to the tide of, well, dark thoughts and the many ways that he could try to escape them. All with no resulting escape happening, of course, as those thoughts just seem to keep coming back and coming back wave after wave. Danny Warsnop is the guest on this track, and his now standard clean croon does this track a lot of good, being a nice contrast against the singing that doesn't distract from the original sound too much at all. Following further along the collab train, the intro and pseudo-title track Suffocate City is the first song I think of when it comes to the bassist Robert, who provides a steady rhythm that feels like it drives the tense song in an almost hero versus villain type of vibe in terms of soundscape that only doubles when Ice Nine Kills frontman Spencer Charnas comes into the equation later on. The song overall feels very exemplary of the album as a whole, not just because it's the intro, but because of the lyrical themes that come into play here. While the lyrics initially sound dismal in terms of the message they're putting out, being trapped in Suffocate City, it's the fever pitch that they come alongside in terms of the overall instrumental approach, as well as these stalwart vocals that gives it this rebellious vibe of wanting to break out of the cage one way or another. Moving into new songs on release day, Doom and Gloom is the earliest on the tracklist and arguably one of the strongest of the songs outside of these initial pre-release singles, with a very fun to nod along to drumming section in the first verse from Homer that melts into a chorus that deserves to be played on the biggest stages possible. The way that the vocals fade into a full frontal assault from the band is art in its purest form, only doubled down on as the next verse comes in with even more fire from each member of the band. The way the tone and vibe switches back and forth from the lighter, wavy singing along to the high-paced parts is expertly done. Chernobyl makes a strong case for my favorite song on the album as a whole, at the very least leading the charge for release day tracks with the ever so slightly heavier sound, mainly driven by Cody, Caleb, and Robert on the strings. This song seems to be about a volatile relationship, at least with moments that ring to that feeling, and the overall feel of the song has a comparatively harder edge than the rest of the album, featuring the biggest breakdown on the LP at the very least that feels very much at home still within the TFP camp. It is arguably hard to find a single song inside of the entire pack of tracks here where the drummer Homer is excelling in particularly, because he is without a doubt absolutely bringing the heat time and time again, whether it be pace keeping or even driving the rhythm of the song himself. It's just, again, just insane top to bottom work from him and everybody overall, but the drumming itself is steady, never stopping, and just keeps bringing in quality in a way that just feels constant without becoming repetitive. Suffocate City's biggest strength is its ability to handle so many different feelings and sounds at once, while also retaining a very comfortable Venn diagram of energies. Dopamine and Doom and Gloom have decidedly tuned down in calmer atmospheres, while the aforementioned Chernobyl and Generation Psycho have edgier vibes that satisfy those coming to the album for sounds that feel very in line with the Serious Octane mainstay track. What also comes up time and time again in the tracklist is a sense of unity and safety, brought out in tracks like Alien and Stay Weird in effortless ways. The lyrics in Stay Weird specifically feel like an outstretched hand from the band, a wholesome late night jam, with lines such as, "Stay weird, don't ever fake it, don't let them take out your heart, stay weird, so what they hate you, their world can't contain who you are." The band has made several posts on social media about growing up and fighting through tons of situations, so a track like this only further drives home the message that this band is one that's not just playing for themselves and their own truth, but creating a genuine connection to the fan base as well. Not a single song on this album feels like it wastes any time. Even with some songs such as Holy Water having been out for a longer time than others, it all still feels fresh and worthwhile here at the time of release, and the stories told throughout the tracklist feel like a reunion with old friends, a vent session, and a riot all at the same time. The Funeral Portrait has perfected their brand of hard rock, and I sincerely hope this album propels them to the same heights that the likes of Bad Flower, Nothing More, and others currently sit at, and then some. For these reasons, Greetings from Suffocate City by the Funeral Portrait gets a score of 9.2 out of 10. And that's the review. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Did you guys enjoy this album? If you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend you do so. I'm going to have a link down in the comment section below. Have a good day, stay hydrated, and welcome to Suffocate City.